Hey, this is Blake Moynes from season 16 of The Bachelorette, and you're watching the Bros Ceremony.
This is the Bros Ceremony,
Your journey's about to begin.
recapping the week that was in Bachelor Nation and previewing what's to come in the next episode with some special betting odds.
Everyone can't wait to find out what happens next week.
Here are your hosts, Michael the Hound Dog Harrison and Adam Scully.
Will you accept this rose?
Will you accept this rose?
Will you accept this rose?
Hi, I'm Neil Lane. Welcome to episode 4 of the Bros Ceremony podcast. Adam Scully alongside Michael the Hound Dog Harrison. Off the top, that might have been the best intro ever from Neil Lane in one of the finale episodes.
I love that you said that. You definitely surprised me with that. I was like, you look a little bit different than Neil Lane there, Adam. Yeah, it's like, I'm pretty sure I know who you are if you say I'm Neil Lane. Also, interesting you say your full name. When you introduce yourself, just to someone randomly, do you say, I am Adam, whatever your middle name is, Scully?
Gregory.
Do that?
I never have. I think like James Bond, you know, maybe
Sure.
think of that.
That makes sense, yeah.
But we had a couple of thrilling episodes this past week as this season is now behind us. We now know that Tayshia and Zach, spoiler alert, Tayshia and Zach, will get into the spoilers a little later in the show because we actually almost are not speaking anymore on a full-time basis.
I swear to God, I sorry to interrupt you, Adam, but I have to. I promise you, I will light you up. We're recording this just before Christmas. I will light you up like a Christmas tree for your spoilers of what happened in that finale. But it is around Christmas time, so I will be as nice as I possibly can be. But I swear I am going to still chew into you and eviscerate you, good word, because of your horrendously awful spoilers that drove me crazy. And I can't understand how it happened. And I promise you, will rip you in this episode.
For those wondering, you cannot delete an iMessage after sending it. I thought you might be able to do that. Unfortunately,
why did you send it though?
it slipped. Anyway, so Hound Dog was not watching live. He works nights, yes, and I unfortunately spoiled it for him. Not thinking. Anyway, we'll get to that a little later in the show where Tayshia and Zach, no, they're not going to join us. Hopefully sometime in the new year, maybe we'll have them on the show. But speaking of people who joined us, a lot of great reaction from Blake Moynes joining us in episode 3.
Yeah, he was outstanding, gracious with his time, and a lot of interesting things that he said. And especially, I loved asking him about his favorite moment that didn't make it to air. Just to sort of, it's always fun to see the more human side of someone. Although I guess you on the show with everyone's walls down and they're in it for the right reasons and they're vulnerable. I suppose in the show you do get to see people strip down a little bit. But I thought Blake was great and lots of views, which is thank you very much to everyone watching and hopefully keep going and subscribe to the podcast. And this has been awesome. It's been a blast bringing these episodes to you guys.
We had a host of more subscribers, the most viewed on YouTube yet for us. On Instagram, we had almost 1,000 views as we're counting now on the first teaser we put out of the Blake episode. We'll continue to keep posting those little snippets of that interview with Blake. And then as we get more guests, we'll continue to do the same thing. But we now have over 200 followers on Instagram. Our Twitter account is exploding. Our YouTube page. We are just breaking,
right now. Holy.
Yeah, this is just some tummy sticks here between you and I as we talk about the Bros Ceremony. And as this season has now ended, it's been one of the most dramatic we've ever seen with 2 bachelorettes. We now have 2 engagements. That's got to be a first in Bachelor history.
And hopefully it does end up lasting, as we'll get into a little bit later. Some of the past potential transgressions I want to talk about specifically with Zach that we'll get into as we get later into this episode. But it's pretty crazy. Honestly, it actually was one of the better seasons in quite some time. And of course, they always say Uncle Harrison always says it's the most dramatic season of all time. But I came to realize, I think he says this exact quote often, like a men tell all or a bachelor finale you've never seen before. Well, he's not wrong. He's not lying. You literally have never seen it before. So whenever he says that, he's not lying at all. But actually, as a whole, I thought the whole season was very interesting with Claire and Dale. And Tayshia did seamlessly come into the season, and a lot of men loved her, and I thought it was a very interesting season.
Yeah, you and I both. It was fascinating to get into, but let's dive into the finale. That's where we left our viewers off last. The 2-part doubleheader, back-to-back weeks, back-to-back nights. You love to see that. The Bachelorette just really swinging things in before the holiday season really snuck in. Let's start, of course, the fantasy suites. Always a turning point, if you will. And Ivan had the first date of the fantasy suites, and off the hop here, Michael, he was ecstatic to get that date first.
Absolutely. And the whole season sort of seemed like a big time favorite to win, which always, I think, if I remember, memory serves me right, I was sort of saying it seems too good that he's going to win this season. It seemed too polished or whatever. And so I had a feeling they were trying to throw us off a scent with that one a little bit. But yeah, the date was great. And I still find it so interesting. The show is so backwards in so many respects and elements. In terms of, let's date 30 people at once. And then if I like someone, let's have 3 fantasy suites with 3 different people. But if you love someone, wouldn't you just want to be with just them? But anyway, I digress on that. But yeah, their date, which was very fascinating, I thought. And I'm curious if you've ever done it as a former hockey player, going in the ice cold bath. That just looked like that would just be absolutely horrible to do.
You know what? I've never done an ice bath before because I was more of an Epsom salts guy in a hot bath with the jets on. I have a history of groin and hamstring injuries in the muscle from my days as a goaltender. But humble brag. But I never really did
in intricate detail, but your pulled groins.
But no, I never really was a cold tub guy. I can't do it. I mean, I have no idea how they lasted 6 minutes and 19 seconds, whatever it was, and holding a kiss too. Like, how long do you think you could last in there? A, sitting in a tub that could have given you hypothermia, and B, holding a smooch.
I just think I probably just would have started laughing pretty quickly into the smooch because you're just holding it there. Someone I thought for sure was going to break down laughing. But I also find it very interesting. All these different times in the series of The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, whenever they have these Guinness World Record, groundbreaking records, they always seem to break them. It's incredible. Have they ever not broken one of those records? It almost makes you think, like, did they do this 6 different takes? Imagine they couldn't do it the first 5 times or whatever, and they had to keep going back into that. Holy! But
even to hold a kiss for 6 minutes,
I've never done that.
Eventually, you're drooling all over each other, right?
I've actually never kissed someone before, so that's probably why. But yeah, so Ivan, Uncle Harrison. I love his little fun fact about hypothermia, where he's like, you can get this if you're under 40 degrees or whatever, blah blah blah. And then he just made a joke, and then it's like, this guy's hilarious.
Speaking of Uncle Harrison, he had a great line where he said, "How is this going to affect the fantasy date sitting in a cold tub for 6 minutes?"
That was very good. By the way, I don't think we've seen this guy before. He was with what's his name, Big Polly or something like that. He's like obviously an ice bath. Oh, easy for me to say. Ice bath expert. Like they're obviously joking about that. We've never seen that guy before.
No. The guy who used to co-host those unfortunately passed away. He was an actor.
Fred Willard.
Fred Willard. Yes. So, yeah.
But this other guy, I thought he was terrible, if I'm honest with you. Just like, he's bringing nothing to the equation here. He's just like, yes, that would be cold, Chris. Yes, I wonder if they're going to kiss. Like, he didn't say anything of interest. I couldn't even recite you, like I can't right now, any line he actually said because they were all so horrible. I was like, what are you even doing here?
Yeah.
Your whole job right now is to be entertaining, and you're not being entertaining. Well, then get off the set. What are you doing?
Maybe he was nervous. He should have had you on there.
I just thought it was just funny that like this hilarious expert guy is in here and he said literally nothing. But
yeah, that was a little fascinating, but it was cool to see. I mean, the synchronized breathing as well in the cold tub. A lot of things have to go right to hold that for 6 minutes and 19 seconds, whatever the eventual winning time was. But then they had their fantasy suite. They have the romantic evening, yada, 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 wake up in the morning. And then Ivan, I'm not sure if I'm glossing over this too quickly, but you can jump in if you'd like. Ivan then walks back to their chalet, whatever, where all the guys are staying. They have a little talk. And then Zach goes off 20 minutes after Ivan came back.
Well,
I
I'm
mean,
sure
for Tayshia, like, does she get any sleep? Like, how does that happen?
yeah. Well, it's probably TV time. That was probably like 3 hours or something like that.
But
Uh,
still,
yeah.
like not even a day in between.
I'm pretty sure she actually did get some sleep. They want to make it for TV. Oh yes, we stay up. And I also love Ivan was like, yes, we he's like, I really want to go to the fantasy suite so badly, for those conversations. Yes, those conversations, Ivan. Of course, that's why you want to be there. But I did notice before Zach went to go on his date, Ivan had incredible pit stains. You notice that? It was a huge pit stain on his right shoulder. It was like, armpit, and it was like, oh boy, it must have been quite the date. But I just love when they try to make it as elegant and like as I can't even think of the word sensual, I guess, but like yes, these conversations that are so important. You're not. Let's be honest. You're not talking. You don't want to be talking in there probably.
Well, and a couple of things I found fascinating. We'll spit that out as well. Was Ivan kept saying, we told each other we were falling in love with each other. And when they had the conversation, Tayshia said, I'm falling for you, but didn't actually put the L bomb in there.
Right.
So, I mean, as we find out later in the season, things might have been a little interesting. But that conversation between Ivan, Brendan, and Zach, when he came back, I thought that was some of the most hilarious television because they're sort of sitting there. Ivan's got this smirk on his face. Brendan and Zach are like, okay, man, like, we get it. And I just can't picture myself being in that situation.
I get a feeling like they probably, I know it's a reality show, but they probably like either stole that scene from different times where they were just waiting for a producer to get something done or whatever. Like the whole, like, it was awkward. It was funny, but it's like, it's probably wasn't as like awkward as they might make you want to think.
Mm-hmm.
But it was it was funny to see them. But yeah, all they were missing were the crickets sound effect. I was disappointed they didn't have that. But yeah, so that went from obviously the second date was Zach. Zach, how'd you feel about that date?
Well, I mean, his date got off to quite the start with the date card Tayshia sent Zach, where it said, Zach, let's explore each other. And clearly
I predicted. I said, they're going to be painting on each other. I called that. Did you?
No, I did not call that. No.
I was all over that one. Bang.
Wow. So if you were, let's say in a year, you're the Bachelor, because obviously that's going to happen. What would you, for a fantasy suite, what would your date card say?
Whoa. Putting me on the spot. That's a good question. Can I just say bang? Bang?
Yes,
question mark?
Absolutely.
I am a wordsmith. I like to come up with funny expression. I will think on that one and perhaps get back to you as this episode goes on. I hope to think of something really, really unique. But yeah, it's like I said, for some reason I knew it. I'm like, whenever let's explore each other, I'm like 100% they're painting all over each other. And it was getting a lot of paint and a lot of grab. Was that paint like flavored paint or something? Because obviously at some point it would get in their mouth, which would be disgusting. Like I can't imagine. I was like, I don't know. That just seemed like that'd be gross. Eventually.
I'm not sure if flavored paint or like there was a lot of paint. How long would that take to come off in the shower?
Yeah, I don't know. Is that even a thing? Flavored paint? That should be. That'd be not a bad idea. In those circumstances where you with your partner are slathering them and lathering up with them with a bunch of paint, because I can't imagine that all that paint would have been good for you to be breathing all that in.
Yeah, breathing it in, and yeah, that's just a bit of a sticky situation, if you will. But it sounded like they bonded over it. They had a good time on the paint date, a bit of a masterpiece from that. And I'm just, Zach, I just can't wait to explore. That was just such a funny line from that date. But something that happened that evening, they were having dinner, conversation. Zach says, I'm in love with you. And what does Tayshia do? She says it back. Whoa.
And then also that led to the scene where they had some sound effects from outside the actual villa. And it, of course, made it sound like they were having the sex. But then it was
sexy time. High five.
Yeah. They just let him jump in the bed. But yeah, that's, I swear, it's somewhere along the way a few seasons ago, they were allowed to say I love you until I swear it was, you could never do it. And for sometime somewhere along the way, someone did it, and now it's just acceptable to do that. Because I remember many times it was like they wanted to say it, but they said, I can't say it.
I think it was Ben Higgins, maybe his season with JoJo and Lauren. And I believe you said, "I love you to both." And JoJo said, "Can you even say that?" I'm pretty sure that we'll have to have Ben on and discuss that in
Noted
detail.
Bachelor historian Adam Scully. I like that one. That's a good one.
You know, it's funny. I've only been watching the show since 2015. My first season watching, I know you asked, by the way, my first season watching was Caitlin Bristow when she was the Bachelorette, when Nick Viall, future Bachelor, came back and created all the drama. But that was my first season.
Nick Viall. I remember, like, his name is so perfect for, making jokes about how vile he is. Yeah, my first season was Brad Womack's second season. He came back on. That might have been, honestly, I was talking to someone about that the other day. Might have been like 10 years ago already. It's like, where does the time go? Holy crap. And I told him I celebrated the Seahawks Super Bowl victory against the Denver Broncos, brag, by watching 2 Bachelor episodes that night with my roommate. Yeah, so obviously 4 hours of television, and that's how I celebrated that Super Bowl. We had some cocktails, celebrating the big 43-8 victory. And I remember that night that people were telling me, like, "Oh, like this is a couple years after the Leafs had the collapse to Boston and when they're up 4-1." Like in the third quarter, everyone's texting me like, "Oh, I know you've been a Seahawks fan your whole life. Like, congratulations, game over." I'm like, "Shut the hell up! Shut up! The game is not over. This is Peyton Manning. If anyone could come back, it would be him. Shut up!" So I was like coaching myself up until like 2 minutes left in that fourth quarter, and then my roommate came in. "Oh man, we gotta celebrate." I'm like, "Shh."
So yeah, 31 with 90 seconds to go.
yeah. It was just once obviously it became, "Oh my god, this is actually official." Yes. Then I watched The Bachelor. That was how I celebrated, watching 2 of those episodes with him. And it was the greatest night of all time. And I tweeted, I said something like, I'm going to bet a champion, the Seattle Seahawks, I'm going to bet a champion or something like that. And then their Twitter account tweeted me back saying, "And you're waking up as a Super Bowl champion as well." I was like, cool. But it's just probably some like intern with, typing that out, but I thought it was kind of neat.
No, it was Russell Wilson, obviously, typing that out.
Peter Carroll, actually, probably, yeah.
Peter Carroll, yes. Well, we'll have to have a full Seahawks breakdown at some point during the Bros Ceremony podcast here. But so Zach and Tayshia dance on the bed. They're clearly having a good time. Zach comes back, and then comes Brendan for the third date. And talk about pressure. 2 people who have been divorced before on the date. Neil Lane shows up. They they look at some rings, and clearly there's a lot going on.
And yeah, as I've been saying these last few episodes, I feel Brendan's a robot. He doesn't have a lot of emotion. Like, he'll say, like, "I'm having the time of my life. I'm really enjoying this," but there's no inflection in his voice. It's just the same sort of monotone. But he seemed like a nice guy. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, that episode, he was clear. It looked like he'd seen a ghost, like Casper or something. I guess Casper's friendly, so I guess like Fatso or Stretch, the unfriendly ones. Were they unfriendly? I can't remember. Anyway, he looked like he'd seen a ghost, and it was like he is sweating and bricking it so hard right now. Like, it was, and I guess that's why, because he was scared to take that next step. But it's like, you eventually decide, okay, I'm going to leave. Like, I'm not over my past relationship. There's a part of me that's still not here. Blah blah blah.
Fair enough.
Then why come on the show to begin with? I never understand. I guess it's a cool opportunity to maybe get some Instagram. Well, not some, tons of Instagram followers and opportunities and blah 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 blah. But almost every season, like clockwork, there's always one, if not more, people that aren't there for the right reasons, even though they claim to be. And then it's just like, "Oh, I'm going to bail in the final 4 because I'm just not feeling it." It's like, it just seemed like, why waste your time to get all the way to the end and only to just say, "Nah, I'm out."
And then especially like meeting the families, getting them involved. And yeah, and then, I mean, you could tell Tayshia was pretty shocked by it, because it looked like, I mean, off the start, as she mentioned, they had quite a connection early on, but it just wasn't meant to be. And, at that point, it seemed like her job was going to be pretty easy. 2 men left. She'd go into the final day, or final episode, I should say, where both of the final contestants get to meet her family. But throughout the episode, they kept teasing Tayshia opening the door and, "Oh my God, you're back." And then,
what, you watch those teasers? Are you a monster? Why are you watching teasers when you're going to watch the episode anyway?
Well,
You're crazy.
I love the Bachelor series, but they're not doing the coming up anymore. They're not
Sometimes they do, but yeah, not all the time. But yeah, it's just no. I fast forward those instantly. I'm like, no. I can't do that because obviously I know what you're gonna be talking about, the guy and who ended up coming back. But before we get into that, I must say,
please.
I don't know if you noticed. I told you to notice this last week, and you probably didn't. Like a clown.
Oh no, I know where you're going.
Yes. So when Brendan decided to leave the show, he was in his whatever vehicle, no seatbelt. Did you notice that?
You know what? I noticed it the next episode when I won't spoil it. Oh, I guess I could spoil it. When Ivan was sent home in the next episode, he had a seatbelt on. 100%.
He had it on. I know. That's another note I wrote down. I was like, holy crap. Like it blew my mind. I'm like, my goodness, he had it on. And then Ben had his on as well. We'll get into that. I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? Did the producer finally like somehow listen to me? They were watching this podcast, the Bro
Probably.
podcast.
They probably were.
And they said, you know what? We got to put these people in seatbelts. But then we'll get into the seatbelt. I have a lot of observations about those. We'll delve into that a little bit more as this episode goes on here. But
absolutely,
it was amazing. He didn't have a seatbelt on, and then the next guy did. I was like, holy crap.
It's funny how it all works out with the seatbelts. But so obviously Ben didn't leave, or he couldn't leave with quarantine, etc. So he's somewhere on the property. He goes into Uncle Chris Harrison's place and says, hey, I'm in love with her. And so from there, little knock, and Tayshia's very shocked right before about an hour before the rose ceremony too.
Yeah, and I thought she didn't seem in any way surprised to see him at all. I was just like, oh, like she was just like, oh, like, there was no, in my mind, there was no like, oh my God. It was just like, oh yeah, cool.
Oh, you're back. Okay. Yeah. So, and then of course, the way the Bachelor series is brilliant in the sense that, you know, they leave you hanging. They have this conversation. It's sort of, is he going to be able to stay? Is she going to send him home? Who knows? Cut to black on to Tuesday. Any final reaction or comments from Monday's episode?
Yeah. So there's a few observations I had, which I love. When Tayshia was talking, the next morning or whatever, she like brought 2 champagne glasses out. That's when Rachel came to talk to her. So
Sorry, I forgot all about that. Oh,
yeah, she brings 2 champagne glasses out, Tayshia, and then she uses a cup. You bring 2 champagne glasses to the table, and then you use a cup to drink. It was like, oh God. Yeah, so then she's talking to Rachel about her walls are down. She's vulnerable. She said vulnerable about 8 times in this episode again, by the way. Oh my God. But I knew Ben was coming back because this was before he came back, because Rachel must have said probably 4 or 5 times, oh yeah, it's pretty crazy how there's 2 men left. She kept emphasizing, she kept saying, it was like a foreshadowing, 2 men left. Okay, clearly there's 3 men left because Ben's gonna come back. It was so obvious because of what she was saying there. I'm like, oh, okay, I know I'm not gonna be surprised by this. No, you know, Ben's gonna come back. And I thought it was hilarious when Ben did come back at the end of episode 1. He's like, can we like sit down or can we go in here? Well, no. I wish she just was just like, no. Can't sit down, Ben. We can discuss, but we can't sit down. I was just
just closes them off.
And then I found 2 things before we get to episode 2 here. When she was like kind of uncertain of what to do, and she was like, oh, I don't know what's happening. Like Ben's back. Like, oh, what do I do? She walked into a room. I don't know if you noticed this, and there was like 2 crew members in there, but it was pitch black in the room. But the crew members, like as soon as she walked toward this room, it was pitch black. Then they scurried out of the way. It's like, were you guys just in this pitch black room doing nothing? It was the weirdest thing. Did you notice that at all? It was so weird.
I noticed the voices. I know that there was like, it was like a windowsill, right? Where the camera was trying to peek in and she was sort of going like this and holding her head maybe. That was a little interesting. I'm sure there has to be crew members throughout the house just because. I don't know.
Just chilling in the dark. No big deal. Also, you were asking what I would say on the date card. I thought of it because hopefully we'd go on a golf round. Not a game of golf. It's a round of golf. I would say, are you for me? For FORE.
Wow.
There we go.
Wow. Are you for me? I feel like that should go on your dating profiles regardless.
Damn. Okay. Well, I will start up all sorts of dating profiles and put that as the tagline, and I won't write anything else on that, just that, and see how I do.
No, I think you just take this snippet,
link
into your thing. Boom.
Good. I like it. Let's do it. But yeah,
There you
those
go.
are my final observations from episode 1. Anything else for you that stand out?
I'm trying to think. There are a couple in my notes here. Brendan, he was well spoken when he said his goodbye. He said there are pieces of myself that I still need to pick up. Obviously, whatever happened in his past relationship. I think that's about it. Just going through my notes here. It was a wild episode, I guess. Would you say your face is saying elsewhere?
Well, I was also thinking about Ben. Does Ben remind you of our mutual friend Gavin at all? Yeah, did we talk about this? I can't even remember. Him or coworker Brian Teal.
Wow. Okay. So Gavin definitely are I'm sure maybe he'll be a guest at some point on. If you want to come on our show, just shoot us a message and we'll give you a 97 question survey of why you should be on our episode. Anyway, yeah. So when I was watching with a mutual friend, Chris, as well, he also said Gavin, and I said, oh, I kind of see that. And our good friend Brian Teal as well, my partner for the Work Ryder Cup, which he didn't win. He some similarities there. Interesting.
Very thrilling podcasting, by the way. For people who don't know either of those two guys, are like, yeah, totally. But yeah, no, it's funny how they remind me of them for sure.
So that's episode 1. We're all waiting. We're sort of what's going to happen. The finale Tuesday night. So it picks back up. Ben and Tayshia, they're having this conversation. She says, okay, Ben, you can stay. You can come to the rose ceremony in an hour. Okay, sounds good. They walk out of the villa. And then he says, can I hug you? And she's sort of, not so much. And then they hug and then they kiss.
And then she kisses him.
It was like, what?
Whoa. Right? It was just like, okay, that doesn't make any sense, really. Based on the fact that you were so much trepidation to even really talk to him and you're confused. And all of a sudden it was like, holy, things are back on between them. That is for sure.
0 to 100 real quick, as one Drake would say.
Really quick. It's really quick. Not real quick, Adam.
Also, I held this reaction because this is what I was doing while watching the episode. I was going, oh my goodness, what is happening with this?
And that's exactly what you said verbatim. Oh my goodness.
Yes. Oh my goodness. That's
like Vern Lundquist style. Like, oh my goodness.
Oh, wow. A lot of golf references in this episode. I wonder why.
Throughout these episodes, by the way, there's commercials for the next one, upcoming Bachelor, Matt, who's on January 4th. So we'll be discussing that. So yeah, throughout watching these episodes, there's a lot of promos for that. And I could not stop laughing at first of all, the hilarious puns they use, like magnificent, unmatched.
Or like falling in love when one of them falls over, walking up the steps.
And then, of course, the best for me was the shirtless shower shots. And he just obviously a rockin' body. And it's just like, he just looks so unbelievably hot with those photos. That's what I want you to obviously watch the show. I was just dying laughing at how ridiculous those shots were.
Well, and then there was the one where he's squatting a tree. He has a full branch, and it's just like,
this show is so funny. But yeah, I couldn't stop dying laughing over those.
Yeah, it's the best. Well, that season on our show next week, we'll have a full preview. We are going to dive into each and every one of the contestants, try to find out some tidbits, and we'll select. We'll have a bit of a draft next week. That's what we're going to do on next week's show.
I think it'd be really fun. Yeah, like, as we do that, because I'm assuming it's like what, 30 contestants or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we've never seen them on TV before, and just nitpick them and just select different things we love about them, what we don't like about them. Completely prejudge them, which is what you shouldn't be doing with people in life. But we're going to do that. We're going to prejudge these people before we even know them and say which one's our favorite and maybe our ones we don't like, blah, blah, blah. That's always fun to do.
We are going to judge the book by its cover when they say you shouldn't judge the book. Not bad. Not bad.
Is that your date card? Is that what your date would say? Don't judge the book by its cover? Adam, is that what your date card is?
No, I have to think of one. I mean, the one you came up with, "Are You For Me?" is brilliant. But we'll get into the date cards a little later. But as we get back into this episode, so Ben shows up to the rose ceremony, and Ivan and Zach are doing the, what on earth are you doing here, man? And then Tayshia shows up, says, oh yeah, if you guys didn't realize, why wouldn't you? Brendan's gone. Ben is back in. Ivan, can I speak to you for a second?
Ooh,
so clearly because it was very cold. It was the conversation between Tayshia and Ivan, it was very standoffish. And then it was okay, see ya. So some sort of conversation happened during their fantasy suite date. I haven't seen anything online or what it could be. I'm not sure if you have.
Well, she said in the thing it's about religion and their differing views on that. And so from what I gather, obviously she's a Christian and he's agnostic, which is not why am I forgetting the term? Someone who doesn't believe in religion at all.
Atheist?
Yeah, sorry, thank you. No, it's not atheist. It's sometimes confused with that. His as agnostic, he's not saying there is a God. He's not saying there isn't one. He's just uncertain or whatever, or he chooses not to think either way. But I guess that was the way it's dressed up. Because I was searching online a little bit because I was kind of confused. Like, you're right. It just seemed out of nowhere, and just like she liked him the whole time, and all of a sudden it was just like, nah, basically. And as you mentioned, it was just super cold, and there was very little emotion, and probably so much little emotion that he actually remembered to put his seatbelt on whenever he left. I was like, oh my God, that's probably why he did it, because everyone else who normally leaves is so crushed and upset that they forget all about it. But yeah, it was a really weird situation, but allegedly that's what it's all about. But I wonder if something happened in that fantasy suite that made them go, made Tayshia go,
It was just weird too, because the way Ivan walked into that rose ceremony telling Uncle Harrison, I'm in love with her. Like he seemed pretty into it. Like he almost seemed like a shoo-in. On The Bachelor, there's a turn of events that we sometimes don't expect. And in 2020, expect the unexpected, of course. Now, that was never a good segue, but
well, that was you stole the Big Brother tagline from the Big Brother reality show, expect the unexpected. So you're cross promoting reality shows there in a way. Kind of weird. I like it.
Story of my life. Anyway, so we go on. So I'm going through my notes here. I had Ivan see. I could show you this. Ivan's seatbelt is written down in my notes. So I paid attention to that. I saw that. I was thinking of my co-host there with the Ivan and the seatbelt. So of course, Ben and Zach get the final rose, get the 2 roses, not the final rose, the final 2 roses. Ben didn't get a fantasy suite date, which I thought might have happened, but Ben got first dibs, I guess you could say, for the first date with the family. Mm-hmm. And something I found very interesting out of the gate, he walks in and says, well, I guess you heard your daughter dump me before.
Yeah. I think he was, he also was like, when he was introduced to them, I was trying to remember their names, and he said their names again, which I thought sounded awkward. They was just like, I think he was just nervous that, understandably, that first minute or two. But yeah, it was like, that's an interesting play to be throwing that one out there so quickly.
Yeah. And it seemed, in past seasons, we've seen some of the contestants say things that maybe aren't off color, but there's some, as we mentioned in our last episode, some sort of crazy family member or something sort of getting in the way. But at least for Ben, that wasn't really the case.
No, I thought it was pretty, for the most part, pretty low key and chill. I did, however, laugh when Tayshia's dad, who seemed like an absolute beauty, by the way, said, Ben's got his walls up. I'm like, that's, you know what? He's been coached so well. The dad, like, I think he might have also said vulnerable at one point. It's like, I love the fact, doesn't matter who's on these shows. Clearly they're briefed beforehand. You must use, these 5 different words at some point in the conversation.
But it's like, why? It's just, I don't know.
And then the mother as well, Tayshia's mother, said she appreciated Ben's honesty so much. That's just so funny to me. Like, imagine someone was dishonest. I appreciate your dishonesty. Well, what do you? It's such a throwaway comment. I appreciate your honesty. Well, okay, cool. It's just like, basically it's akin to, I hate liars. Liars are horrible. Oh, really? You don't like people who lie? Shocker. I don't.
So Ben, they have this good date, whatever. It's fun. I'm not sure if there's anything more to say about the Ben date with the family. It was pretty nondescript. No,
I'm not gonna lie to you, Adam. I had tons of notes from that first episode, of a lot of interesting, funny observations and great stuff that happened. The second episode, the finale one, there wasn't a ton. I was just like, I guess that happens oftentimes in the finale, but yeah, with the date one, not so much.
It's funny. I have some more notes as we get later in the episode. I had some observations that had me in stitches while watching the show. So we'll get into them now. And Zach got to meet the family next. And one thing, bold move maybe, but he said, I'm a hugger. I'm going to bring it in for a hug. And so he hugged all the family members out of the gate. I thought that was a good move.
Well, I mean, clearly it was the correct move, and they instantly liked him, it seemed. And yeah, he's a fascinating character. I did write down actually throughout this episode and throughout the last few. Like, I initially didn't think he was going to have a chance of winning, but he did grow on me a lot. I was like, you know what? I actually am pulling for this dude. Like, he seemed like a genuinely cool dude for sure. And who knows how it'll eventually all turn out. But, you know, I was pulling for him. And obviously the family members seemed to really like him as well.
Yeah, so it seemed like the family members really liked him or loved him as well. And there was one more date. So Zach had the next date where I guess it was their final date, if you will, and they had a wedding dance. So they were taught how to do a traditional wedding dance. And at first they both seemed sort of standoffish because right before that, Tayshia's dad did the knock, 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 have a little conversation, sort of got in Tayshia's head a little bit. But so after she seemed to maybe a little off at the start of the date, Zach seemed to reassure. They had a good date. And I'm not sure about you, but I've never seen a bachelorette, we got this a little earlier, say, I love you so many times to Zach.
It's true. I thought you were going to ask me if you want to, if I would have the same dance with you together. I thought that's where you're going with that. And I'm kind of a little offended. You did not ask me to have a dance like that with you, because I would practice. And I would be horrible, but it would be entertaining to watch. And have you ever danced like a sweet dance like that before?
I mean, okay, first of all, I'm a broadcast journalist, so I mean, I follow up all the time on this. So yes, we should definitely do that. Have I ever danced like that? I once was taught how to ballroom dance. This was years ago. Wow. I couldn't do it now. I mean, I need like a 3.5 hour refresher for sure. And I have no rhythm at all. So
I just remember do-si-do. It was like that was a thing in like as a grade school or whatever for like gym class. You had to do some dancing. And it's like, what? I want to play like, you know, basketball or baseball or something. And I'm doing
dodgeball.
Oh God, it was not really applicable to life as it went forward, I guess. But I do remember the do-si-do for whatever reason.
The do-si-do. So that was high school in 1974.
Oh, sorry, you're cutting out there. I'm sorry. What did you say? High school in 2009?
Anyway, continuing on here, as we'll blame the Wi-Fi for that little dropout. So at this point, you can tell Tayshia is head over heels in love with Zach, and she says, "You know, it's time for me to say goodbye to Ben." And what were your thoughts on the way she went about doing that? Going to his room, being vulnerable with him, being honest with him, and saying, my heart's with another man.
Well, it's interesting because unlike other seasons, usually both men are going to propose, and then it's like one obviously is rejected and the other one ends up winning the Bachelorette's heart. It was a really bizarre sort of feeling, I thought, the last 45 minutes of the episode, because like you said, she did get rid of Ben, and she, I guess, was that's I suppose a better way than humiliating him and him like proposing all that stuff or whatever. But it felt weird to me. I was like, okay, so there's like 40 minutes left, and she got rid of Ben, who, by the way, as I mentioned, wore a seatbelt. Back-to-back guys, when they left, wore a seatbelt. I was like so stunned by that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, then it was just okay. What's going to happen? Is there going to be some sort of after the final rose thing? Is there going to be a drawn-out process? And then there wasn't. So yeah, it was just bizarre, and it was just like 40 minutes of knowing the inevitable already. It sort of felt weird to me.
Well, I found it interesting because Ben was obviously sent home once before, but this time around, they showed him putting a very big bag into the trunk, and he slammed the trunk door. So I think that's when we knew he was gone for sure.
Well, but then it was funny. It was clearly a different cut to the scene, because he put the thing in the trunk, and there was absolutely no one in the driver's seat at all when he did that, when he went into the door. And into the vehicle, and then the next scene, of course, is like there's some guy with a mask on driving off. It's like there was no one in that front seat when he did that. So that was again, I love seeing continuity errors where it's clearly not correct at all. But I don't exactly know what this refers to, but I need to bring this up because a mutual show that we love, of course, Curb Your Enthusiasm. I wrote down, I guess she said something along the lines of "someone's choosing you." I don't know. Honestly, I have no recollection of what that was referring to, but I wrote that down because I wanted to then bring up the Curb episode where they're like the newlywed game or something like that, and they have to choose different partners for their and Larry says, "I choose Cha-Cha," and then it's just a whole poop storm that is inevitable from that. Yeah, whenever she talked about whatever she was saying about is someone choosing you. I thought of the Cha-Cha episode of Curb, and oh my God, I was just dying laughing.
It'd be awesome if Larry David was a Bachelor fan. We'd love to have him on the show. Larry, if you're watching, listening,
That'd be so good.
you should come on the Bros ceremony. That's for sure. So at this point here, Zach's the last man standing. As you said, there's still 35 to 40 minutes left in the episode. The way it was teased beforehand, the most dramatic ending ever. We're never going to know what's going to happen. I mean, who knows? Maybe something was going to come out of the sky. Maybe someone was going to tear an ACL. I don't know. But the way it worked out, Tayshia walks in. She seems incredibly nervous, but look who was there. Uncle Harrison for some reassurance.
She was. And it was fantastic as always. And they're bringing that much time left in the episode, I thought maybe we're going to go back to a couple episodes prior, which in the actual season, I mean, and we talked about this, I believe, last episode, when he's the whole cheating story, where it was like in the lie detector, it was like, did you cheat on someone? And he quickly was like, oh yeah, in grade 1, I kissed a girl, and that's why I cheated on her. And I'm like, no chance, that's not true. There's no way in a million years that's the only time. Like, no, I'm not believing that for a second. Because the reason I say that is because on that lie detector, you wouldn't even be thinking about in grade 1, like that's clearly a made up story, because like there's no way you would even fathom and be like, oh yeah, clear. I obviously remember when I kissed a girl in grade 1. No one would have thought that. So he clearly had some sort of story that he made up just to try to see. So I thought maybe at the ending here there'd be a twist or something where it's all good, they're gonna get married, and all of a sudden, boom, like an ex shows up or something like that, and that would have been a crazy ending, right? Because they said it was gonna be a crazy ending. That would have been spectacular. But
it also seemed like quite a long walk for. I mean, Tayshia had some pretty high heels on for that walk. I mean, like if you go down, like you're going down a cliff. Like it's not like you're just falling. Like you're. Yikes. Anyways, so I found that a little interesting, and then something else. I mean, Uncle Harrison, like he's a brilliant character, brilliant human.
Related to me, so yeah.
Your uncle, the power stance.
Oh yeah,
strong. And then so Zach shows up. Obviously, typically there's 2 guys that show up and one guy leaves, but this time around Zach was the one and only guy to show up. He goes in, the handshake, the hug. They have a 42-second conversation. What's he do? The handshake, the hug. That was incredible.
Yeah, and I would say it was just like, oh, okay, this is actually happening. It's gonna be actually one of the more boring finishes in terms of like it was inevitable and it was done and no big deal and I feel you have a tremendous comment with the like this.
Well, we all thought it was going to be flowers and everything and going to end. Zach says his spiel about how awesome she is. Tayshia says her spiel, and then there's a dramatic pause, and it was like, wait a second, what's about to happen? And then she went through with it anyway. So for a second there, we thought maybe, but no.
Yeah. But yeah, again, we touched on this very briefly. Why was there no final rose? Because Claire and Dale had one after like they decided to get together. Why was there no after the final rose thing where they talk about how much they love each other and stuff?
Yeah, that's a good question. I thought maybe the episode was going to be a 3-hour thing where they'd come in after the fact. I don't know. I wonder if there's going to be something coming up, maybe starting into the next season, where maybe there's one of the episodes is an hour and the second hour, let's bring back Tayshia and Zach, whatever. But there were a couple of things before we wrap here and talk about how much of a dink I am for spoiling it for you. A couple of interesting lines when, they were engaged, they were being interviewed after, and one of them said, are we dancing tonight? And then the line was, no, we're doing more.
Oh, I don't even remember that one. That I did not have that. That's interesting.
And then there was another one where Tayshia said, he's the gas, I'm the brakes.
Yes, that's a good one. Yeah, I do remember.
Hilarious.
That's a pretty good line. Yeah. Because because they went on their fake cab or whatever, and they were walking like they did in the previous date, and it was like, so romantic and cute, and yeah, I guess. But yeah, that was a hilarious line by Tayshia. That I will give her credit for that one.
So as we're recording now, they are still happily in love and happily together. They did some interviews across the media junket, if you will. And that's where we get to our next point here, where Dum Dum over here decided to spoil something in hopes of potentially, who knows, maybe having some special guests on in some future episodes. And I was excited to see an email I received from a certain someone. And I sent you a screenshot of this email. And without thinking, I said, I hope to get Tayshia and Zach on. And then I went, oh, what did I just do? Because as I mentioned earlier, because you work later hours at night, you don't watch this live, you stay off social media, which is talent in itself to do that.
Incredible how I did such an amazing job both nights and not knowing anything for sure.
Now you mentioned I think this was on a Monday, one of our thousands of fans on the Bro Ceremony Instagram account tagged us in something, and you saw some sort of spoiler, but it wasn't the full thing.
Yeah, I think it ended up being. I'm pretty sure I saw Brendan because I looked immediately. I looked away and I saw Brendan in there, and also, whenever you go on Google and you go to type something in, and it'll have like articles that you may like.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw a shot of Brendan, so I'm like, oh, he probably won, So I was so excited when I realized he didn't win, because I was like, oh, what I thought was the ending of who won was not the case. I'm like, okay, this is awesome. And then you sent me this email, which wasn't a spoiler. There was no spoiler in the email at all from the Bachelor PR lady. So I'm like, okay, so why there was nothing there that spoiled? And then then the next question, I'm hoping it's Zach and Tayshia. Oh my God, you've just given away the ending. I have no clue what your thought process was on that. I will eviscerate you for that. I don't understand it. So then, of course, I was complaining and bitching about how my buddy Scully is a complete clown for screwing this up to people. I was texting some people about it, really, really calling you some really nasty words like meanie face. And one of these girls that I texted, she goes, oh yeah, it was pretty good. I guess she was trying to throw me off the scent, and so going into the finale episode, she's trying to throw me off the scent, so then I would maybe not know what happened. I guess she was trying to maybe bail you out here. And she goes, oh yeah, it was crazy when Bennett came back. Okay, well, obviously that didn't happen. Like, that's funny. I wasn't surprised. But then she goes, yeah, it was crazy when Ivan won. Well, now I know Ivan didn't win. Are you saying, oh, it was crazy when Ivan won? Obviously he didn't win then, because you wouldn't be saying that, because you know that I'm fired up about him spoiling something. So that confirmed even more that Ivan didn't win, and that clearly Brendan would win. I was like, oh, cool. That's so interesting and awesome. I swear it's like a power trip that people have. They need to, when you say, don't tell me what happened, I don't want to know, don't give me spoilers. They need to have that power over you to be like, oh, I'm wielding this over you, and I can at any moment screw you over. Especially when people say, like, just wait till the end of the episode, or like, you know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, it was pretty good, but just wait till the end. Well, now I know clearly that something crazy at the end happened. If I wouldn't have realized otherwise. So now again, it's another additional spoiler. So there was just so much that it was just like, oh my God, that one drives me crazy. I remember there's a girl from work a couple years ago. I love her, sweet girl, but she's
love her.
I'm not in love with her, but I love her. Yeah. And she said it was a Survivor. We both love that show. And I said, I haven't watched the finale. The finale is that night. I'm going to watch the 2 episodes before that and the finale at once. 3 episodes in a row. It's going to be great. And she goes, oh, that's cool. It's cool. I'm hoping this guy and this guy wins. And I'm like, oh my God, you've just told me who didn't win the 2 previous episodes by saying that. And she's like, no, what are you talking about? Yes, by you saying you want these people to win tells me those other people didn't win. And she couldn't understand. I was like, oh my God, you just spoilers. Just, if someone doesn't want anything spoiled, I urge you just to say nothing, don't. I really was truly hoping you did that on purpose and you were trying to throw me off and Zach didn't win. Look at my hair there. I thought it'd be really funny if you knew, for example, Ivan did win and you were just saying that just to get me to think that Zach did win, and then boo, you swerved me. That would have been evil genius of you, but unfortunately it wasn't evil genius of you. You just somehow gave away the winner. I don't understand it. How the hell did that possibly happen?
I saw this email. We'll get into it maybe a little after the show, but I was like, oh, this is cool. And then I'm like, oh my God, what did I just do? And then I tried to unsend the message, which apparently you can't do. I found that out the hard way. And then I tried sending you 100 consecutive texts so you wouldn't see it.
Well, I understand that. I appreciate the attempt, but I was like, whoa, I have 8 texts in a row from Adam. Like, what the hell happened? Like, something big is, I wasn't sure.
I don't generally do that. Yeah.
I mean, I would have seen it either way, I'm sure, but I was just like, whoa, like something, everything okay? So when I saw those messages, that unfortunately had the adverse effect. But oh man, it was just, yeah, that was a classic all-timer. I just, how in the living world, knowing I hadn't watched the show,
it happened. It was so quick. It's one of the bigger regrets of my holiday season life thus far.
Like I said, I tweeted out, you're either a complete clown or you're the greatest evil genius of all time. I truly wish, because that would be something I would do. I would never spoil anything, but if I wanted to throw someone off a scent, I would do exactly what you did. But knowing that Ivan, for example, did win, just to get them thinking something else. But yeah, and especially with it being like the last 45 minutes, as we were talking about, it was like, okay, obviously Zach won. There's no surprise here because of the spoiler already. I was like, oh my God. But yes, if you're trying to joke to someone that Ivan, for example, didn't win, and oh, it's crazy that he won. Clearly, I know he didn't win now. So now you've just given it away more. So that wasn't you who said that one. But it was just like, oh man, spoilers. I don't understand. People just need to have that power over people, and it's really annoying. Not really annoying, really annoying.
But I started the Gong show that was that you had before watching it. So first of all, to all of our viewers and listeners, you're watching this, Hound Dog, I apologize for that, and I will probably do it again at some point because I'm not the brightest light in the shed. I think we all know that. By
That's an expression, brightest light in the shed.
Yeah, of course.
I mean,
sharpest tool in the drawer. One of those.
The sharpest tool in the toolbox, something like that, or whatever.
Or the drawer,
Sharpest knife in the drawer, something like that. But
yeah, I think it's in that same family of expressions, is it not?
I'll give you that one.
Well, so before we sign off here, I mentioned this earlier, but on next week's show, we are going to give a full preview of the next season of The Bachelor with Bachelor Matt. What is your excitement level about doing essentially a draft on episode 5 of the Bro Ceremony?
I was texting you this before. I have no understanding at all why we didn't do one at least this year, if not maybe previous years. Like I know we used to always do it as a fun little thing. Oh, we're gonna pick 2 or 3 people or whatever and see how they do. How in the world did we not do that this year? I have no understanding of that at all. I don't get it one bit. But yeah, I'm excited to go into profiles and just prejudge people right away without knowing them at all. And it's just always fun to see, like trying to pick the one that's gonna be the most dramatic. Yep. Trying to pick the one that's it's gonna be the most drunk, different ones like that or whatever. I really oh, everything okay? Yeah, you
thought the power went out for a second.
Maybe Casper the Friendly Ghost has decided to make an appearance, or a Fatso or Stretch, perhaps.
No, but it's going to be a lot of fun starting next week. And then hopefully we'll have some people on to help recap the episodes, maybe help recap the last season. Who knows? Maybe at some point we'll have Uncle Harrison join the pod. But, Hound Dog, a couple of notes before we sign off here. First of all, Merry Christmas to all of our viewers, all of our listeners, everyone who's tuned in so far. 2020 has been an unusual year, but for those, enjoy the holiday season the best you can, and hopefully our entertainment hopefully our show can be somewhat entertaining for you guys on YouTube if you have a couple 45 minutes to an hour to spare from time to time.
And also this is obviously, as we said, a unique time, and it's horrible. I'm not going home to see my family, which is terrible because I've been there for every single Christmas of my life. But try to think of it in these terms. We have way more technology. We have Zoom here, we have FaceTime, and someone asked me if they were to ask me what I did in 2011 at Christmas, I will have had no clue what I did in 2011. But 20 years from now, we will remember 2020 Christmas because of obviously the unusual circumstances behind it. So try to embrace it for what it is. And maybe by next year when we can be with family, we'll actually talk to them more instead of being on our phones and all that stuff during Christmas and like, oh, I don't really want to see my family members that much or whatever. Like maybe this will sort of be that perspective gainer for everyone, and try to embrace it for what it is.
Some very nice words there from Michael the Hound Dog Harrison. And we'll also remember 2020 because 20 years from now, we'll be on episode 474 of the Bro Ceremony podcast and looking back, doing some flashbacks to episode 4 of the Bro Ceremony podcast. Before I sign off here one last time, of course, you are the host of the H Dog Pod milestone episode. Anything coming up exciting that you want to tease our listeners and fans about?
Yeah, so I recorded the episode with the editor of the podcast, Grant Nabesy Roberts, and talking about he started in the TV industry in the early 90s. So the TV was a lot different back then in terms of some of the things you could do. Like you can be like basically you can be smoking on the job and having a few pints at work. Very, very interesting. And he had some crazy stories of, working on the Mike Bullard show back in the day and all sorts of stuff. And it was really cool. He gave me an awesome surprise at the end of the episode. It was like about a 3-minute clip of a compilation of some of the more finer moments to the first 49 episodes of the H Dog pod. So it's really, really cool, really sweet of him to do that as well. And it was just neat to be able to hear how I've evolved from episode 1 throughout, which I thought was really cool. But yeah, episode 50, a milestone episode. As we know, I don't care about milestones normally. That one is pretty cool. I will admit 50 is neat. Unlike 30 or 40 or 60 or 70, like in terms of those aren't like 50 or 100. I'm thawing slightly on hating milestones. We'll put it that way. And the episode was fantastic.
You can catch episode 50, the Jonas Gustafsson edition of the H Dog pod. Jonas Gustafsson, Corey Crawford. What's the guy for this one? Do you have it yet?
Yeah, no, I did. Who was the guy I did for?
I'm putting you on the spot here. Oh no.
KJ Wright, the Seattle Seahawks linebacker. He's been on the team for like 9-10 years, and I talked about him. But I did consider Jonas Gustafsson, definitely. I forgot about Corey Crawford though. I will say that.
Jonas Gustafsson, a Maple Leafs legend, and who knows, maybe he's a Bachelor fan. I'm gonna say probably not. Well, Hound Dog, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Hope to see you soon, my friend. Thank you to all of our viewers who watched on YouTube and subscribed to us and followed us on Instagram and or Twitter. This has been episode 4 of the Bros Ceremony podcast from Mike the Hound Dog Harrison. I'm Adam Scully. We'll see you right here next time on the Bros Ceremony.